Good afternoon and welcome to AIADA's AutoTalk. I'm your host, Rachel Soleimani. A few quick reminders for our newer listeners. Anyone that is registered for today's program will be receiving a copy by the end of this week. And if you have any questions, feel free to enter them into the Q&A bar in the right side of your interface. Now, please join me in welcoming Eric Milch, co-founder and VP of CEO at Dealer Teamwork. Eric, I know you're busy at Digital Dealer and have a booth to get back to, so I'm just going to let you take it away.
Thanks, Rachel. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for joining. I look forward to this session. This is the third one we've done, Rachel, so I'm excited to continue the theme here with SEO. So I've got 7.5 things that you absolutely need to know about SEO. So let's dive right into that. So we've got, again, 7.5 items here. I always love to say the best time to start SEO was 10 years ago. And unfortunately, if somebody didn't, the next best time is today. And I want to cover these 7.5 items here. We've got the quick agenda here. So I'll run through each one of these items. I got some great takeaways for you too, and some stuff that you can check right away. So I promise you, you'll walk away with at least one of these, if not all of these items, for something that you can add to your toolbox and continue to improve your business. So let's dive right in. Let's start off real high level. I'm sure everybody has seen this before, but I want to reiterate it. 70% of online marketers say SEO is by far better than PPC for generating sales. And I've seen this for the last, I don't know, who knows, 12, 15 years. As a former dealer myself, I did this to create tremendous success for our dealership. The second group that I helped start, and now today, we're dealing with hundreds and hundreds of dealers that follow these same tried and true proven practices. So everybody should also realize that organic traffic is probably your largest source of valuable website visitors right now. I'd be shocked to see somebody that didn't have organic traffic already as their largest traffic channel. And think about that for a moment. That's your largest traffic channel. And if you're not doing SEO, or if you haven't done it in the past, that traffic bucket is as large as it is without any additional improvement. And those people already stay longer. They view more pages, bounce less. The behavior is so much better. They convert at a higher rate, and it's all at a much lower cost. So the ROI is there. And again, think about that for a moment. That's already your largest bucket. Now imagine what happens once you start actually paying attention to it and you truly start dotting your I's and crossing your T's. So let's start with number one. It's really important. I got a couple concepts wrapped up into this number one topic here, understanding the click-through rate from organic traffic. And it's really important as well to understand how Google has actually changed. I want to cover what's different and what's the same and how it's creating more opportunities while still changing our experiences. For those of you that are old enough to remember, this is what Google originally looked like. It was just a bunch of organic results. This is before they started actually monetizing their search traffic. And that's all that happened. And it was great if you could somehow understand what to do back then. And it was extremely difficult because really businesses didn't understand the concept at all. But if you managed to actually get on the first page, you got all the traffic, obviously. And then again, over time, things started to change. And you can see here, number one, now obviously everybody's familiar with the ads. Now, number two is the map pack, or the local pack as they call it. Then they've got this big box over here. That's your knowledge panel. That also appears for your Google business profile. It's all the same thing. It occurs on that right side, and again, what's called the knowledge panel. Then you have those organic results. This is the full page on the left, and it just continues on the right. And then you have all these new things that they've added. You got up top, like people also search for. You've got the Twitter carousel. You may have top stories. And then you may even have, obviously you got additional ads at the bottom, and then things like related searches. There's so many things, and there's some of them that I didn't even show on that, but this is the full list of, pretty much the full list of all the main organic search features that you could see on there. You could have a video carousel, you can have an image carousel, featured snippets. That wasn't included in there. But what I did include is the top three here over here on the left that are in bold blue. These are the ones that you have the best opportunity to show up for. The others, Google, it's really up to Google's discretion when they choose it. But these are the top three where most of the activity will fall in, and your best opportunity for this valuable traffic. I like to call it the best digital real estate possible. Now, this is a great click-through rate comparison by different market categories for all types of searches, except for non-branded searches. So if you take all these industries, travel, retail, so on and so on, and you compare that against automotive, in those first couple of spots, automotive clearly is the winner in terms of getting that higher click-through rate. So that's a great sign, though, just in terms of the strength of how much the click-through rate is, really happens in those key, what I like to call the key sweet spots. So being in number one, number two, anywhere in that top five is where my objective is for any of our clients that we're managing SEO for. I know if we get in that top five, we're going to have tremendous lift in organic traffic, quality of traffic, and again, capitalize on that quality behavior, as we said in the beginning, looking at more pages, bouncing less, staying longer, and ultimately converting at higher rates. Then I also think it's important to understand too, how does it actually work? And if you break it down like this, it's actually quite simple to understand. There's only really three things that Google is doing. Other than their main objective to basically solve your problem or answer your question, they have to do three things. And they've created a very sophisticated system, as you know, that really does these three things, seamlessly behind the scenes. And all they have to do, they have to crawl the links on the internet, and they're crawling these pages to find these links in your pages. And then from there, once they've crawled it, they can understand it. And then they index it. And that just simply means it's putting it in their file cabinet. And then from there, that's where their algorithm goes to work. And then it just simply ranks it so they can find the best results to answer your question or, like I said, solve your problem. And that is how really what Google is doing. And in order for Google to do that, you have to have certain things in place. Otherwise, the Google bot just simply cannot crawl, index, and rank your site so they can show it to more local shoppers. So one of the things that you can do to complement this is a very simple process, again, of just being able to clean up your navigation. And this is probably one of the simplest ways, not only to improve your website user experience, but it also helps with SEO, because what you're doing is you're reducing the number of pages that Google needs to be able to crawl and spend what they call a crawl budget in terms of the pages and the number of pages that they have to go through and review. So here's a simple way, and I always like to say it like this: can you get to the most important pages in one click? And I don't want to have to go into a separate landing page and then find my way through that. I just want one call to action or one link or one navigation link that will take me directly to those pages that will do one very simple thing: either lead to a sales opportunity or lead to some other revenue producing type of event. So here's four simple things that I recommend all of our clients to do at any time. And I like to do it. You can do it on a 30-day basis, once a quarter. I wouldn't go longer than that, because everybody on the call and everybody in the industry has experienced this, where all of a sudden you realize, or you may not realize until it's too late, that you've got all these other new pages that were added to your website. And sometimes they're in the wrong place, or just they're not organized properly. But here's a great way, a simple way to go about it. I recommend going through and just reviewing your top pages in your analytics. And are they easy to find in your menus? Now, we all know we've got things like new and used and certified and whatnot, and we have department labels. But I'll show you on the next slide how I would recommend to reorganize that. But find those pages, and are they important? And then do the opposite. Do you have pages in your menus that are not important? Are they purely what I like to call digital brochureware? They're or I like to also call them dead end pages. If they don't have call to actions, or if it's something that you would just simply pull it up and you review the content and there's nothing else for you to do, it's probably a good way to realize there's a better way to either reorganize or link out to another page. And then number two, I strongly recommend taking a look at your analytics and look at where the traffic is actually coming from. Is that traffic coming from outside your primary market or state? If it is, look at the things like the bounce rate. And I've got a great example coming up that I can demonstrate this for you. But also take a look at the conversion rate. Okay, that's a real great sign, and I'll show you that next. But the next one would be, how is the actual behavior? Like I said, bounce rates, conversions. These all tie together in terms of just the overall performance. And then look at some of that content that they do happen to get a lot of traffic on, and ask yourself, is this content really better suited for an outbound marketing campaign? There's so many pages that I see day in and day out for dealers where they have these opportunities to leverage this as external resources. It could be content for pre-sale. It could be content, post-sale. It could be content for long-term value. And there's a lot of those things that exist within your website navigation that will probably fall into one or two of those categories, which in turn helps you to simplify your menu overall. Now here's an example, this top row here, new, certified, pre-owned, typical navigation menu, very similar to what most dealers will have out there. And I know everybody's different. Or this is my go-to. I like to use it like this in terms of just going from left to right. Your specials menu, your new, your used / CPO, then a sell trade your car link, then a get approved link, then your schedule service link, and then your contact us. I always like to joke that people don't necessarily care about you, they care about contacting you when it comes to a website. Now, again, it's pure subjective choices on those, but again, if you notice these first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these 6 links, I like to make those direct top level links. And why? And people they always ask me why, and it's very simple. It's one click to get to the sell trade your tool, your sell trade your car tool. One click to get to the finance application. One click to schedule your service. Because most of the experiences that we have in the industry, they lead the customer to a page that they have to then click another call to action to get there. And one of the main reasons why I like this and why it has proven to be successful for myself and for a lot, for all of our dealers that do this, what happens is, a lot of these clicks are happening again on mobile devices. And as everybody knows, they're probably looking at situations where at least one or two of your stores, if you have multiple rooftops, where you get more traffic on your mobile site than you do your desktop. And again, depends on location and brand, but that's a trend that should not be new to anybody at this point of the game. So simple exercise to go through. And again, if you have other departments, look at your opportunities there as well. I've seen this where somebody may swap out the order of the new special, or the special, the new and the used and CPO with something like commercial trucks or work trucks or even lifted trucks. We've got several dealers that are looking at different solutions and trying to play out different scenarios to how to leverage and clean up the navigation to be able to get people to these priority departments much faster and much easier. Now the next is you have to look at the type of content that you have. And the question that I have here on the screen, you can see is, I like to ask the dealers this when it's a really egregious situation. Are you a media company or are you a car dealer first? And again, there's a happy medium there. But again, as we said in the beginning, Google is there to help obviously solve a problem or find answers to a question. But again, if all you're doing is just creating content for the sake of creating content, just so you can have it and you can simply answer questions. Now, this is a perfect example. This was a link for how to unlock a steering wheel. Now, it's helpful content. Many people search for it. It's got decent search volume. It's pretty easy to rank for. However, this dealer that I'm showing you here in this example, this is right from their analytics. They're based in San Diego, and their number one source of traffic is London. And as you go on down, you can see there's only 2 cities that are even in their state. One of them is relatively close. I think LA is a couple hours away, but from San Diego. But San Francisco is at the other end of the state. And then you can see the traffic goes on. And I actually looked at the second page of this. There were I think it was Brisbane, and then I think there's another city in Australia where traffic was coming from. So again, they got global traffic on this. Again, nice job of the content and creating helpful, what I like to call informational content versus transactional content. Now, while this is their number one page for 2022 so far, they've got 90% bounce rate, obviously 0 conversions, and as I said, traffic from 7 cities outside their primary market. This is just purely informational slash almost. I've seen some where I would actually bucket into entertainment type of content. So that's a great way to look at it. And if you're not familiar with how to do that, just simply pull up in your analytics your top pages, add a secondary dimension and add your city, and you'll see that data. Everybody has access to that. Next is your technical SEO. When I mention this, I get one simple question, and it's pretty straightforward. What the heck is that? Well, it's actually quite simple as well. And all it means is we're looking for those things that could potentially impact the site from being crawled and indexed, like we said in the beginning, what we need to have the website prepared to be able to accept. So going around the horn here, you need to have access to your Google Search Console. If you don't, and you don't know what it is, don't worry about it. Simply ask your website provider to get it verified and get the access. I did see a question come in there, Rachel. I'd love to address it since it is on point here with this. Somebody asked, any good examples of transactional content for SEO? Yes, great question. So instead of something along the lines of how do I unlock my steering wheel, think of a question such as what are your current Honda Accord leases, or even just simply a search term that addresses the search query around Honda lease payments or Honda incentives, anything along those lines, or even just simply Honda Accord for sale. Those are transactional terms. So the way we approach that is we simply create model-specific landing pages that address that content directly in the page. And I can share a couple of some. If anybody wants to go to somebody like Mohawk Honda, for instance, take a look at their specials pages. They've got transactional content on there that actually addresses what the price are, what the current price is. They may have lease payments, they may have finance payments, but the landing pages themselves for the actual vehicles has a lot of additional content, even some pros and cons in terms of leases versus financing. And all we're doing again, and I'll touch on this in a further subsequent slide, but that's addressing that example. And then if you want to go even deeper, Alicia, you can actually take a look at, this is something that we manage through our SEO software. We take a look at breaking down what is the percentage of the types of content that the site is ranking for. Now, obviously, we want to have a delicate balance between informational and transactional because, as we know, the buying journey is not a linear path, and people go up and down, back and forth. And so, to be able to be prepared to answer any and all questions, that's the goal. And so to have a nice balance, again, between a certain percentage of informational and a certain percentage of transactional. There's also navigational and there's also commercial. And those are the types of content that you would want to be able to have. And going back to the technical items, thank you for the question, Alicia, appreciate it. Going back to the technical items here, the other item that you can ask your website provider is to make sure that the sitemap is in fact updated, and it does have not only your most important pages, but I would also ask even some of your newer pages too, because if it is an important page and it has been added, now again, this is being very, very thorough. And like I said in the beginning, making sure that your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. But these are things that we need to make sure are in place and they're healthy so that Google can, like I said, crawl it and index it faster and easier. Next is your link health. Nobody likes to click a broken link. I'm sure you've all experienced it. You get that dreaded 404 error. Nobody likes that, including Google. So we want to make sure, obviously, that there are no broken links. Do you have do you have any internal links that are linking to other relevant pages? Do you have links that point off-site to an external resource? And are they accurate? And are they working? And again, these things are always changing, so it's important, obviously, to monitor the health of those. And then lastly, I know everybody's heard it, but the page load speed is so important. It is a confirmed Google ranking factor. And so you have to ask yourself the question, does everything load fast enough? And especially on mobile devices as well. So there's 4 really, really important things. And again, all of these go much, much deeper, but I'm giving you guys at least a real good, sturdy cupful of information for each one of these categories to, to really get you started and, really understand what else is really needed. Let's move on to the next category in terms of local SEO. Hot topic, has been for quite a while now, and it's only going to continue to be important as Google continues to roll out more things. Just as indicated, if you haven't caught it, I'm sure everybody has, but Google My Business is now Google Business Profiles. So I'm going to give you a quick glimpse as to what really, really matters. Now, I could go on and probably make an entire presentation for just local SEO factors, but I'm going to give you the real simple approach here. There's 4 things that I like to call the most important items that are basically going to give you better organic visibility in your local market. So first one is your categories. If you're not familiar with this, you have the ability to choose a primary category. Most dealers have this in place, but you also get 9 secondary categories. They don't show on the front, they do show up in the back end. And think of it as like a page title on your website. This is another signal or a page or just another search element that Google is looking for to be able to understand the relevance of your dealership. So if you're a Honda dealership and all you've got is Honda dealer, that's a good start. But if you don't have the rest of them, because other categories might exist, such as used car dealer, used truck dealer, there's motor vehicle dealer, there's leasing, there's financing, there's a bunch of other categories that can be applied to that. And the other thing is to ask, if you are familiar with it enough to go into your Google Business Profile backend, take a look at what you have and ask yourself, are these even relevant? Because we're at the point in time where most dealers should have also a service and parts profile. And that's where your service and parts related categories should be assigned to, not on your sales profile, as we call it. The next is your calls to action. Everybody has that main website button, and we'll show you a picture of this on the next one. But you need to make sure, obviously, that is not only there, but it has the right tracking tags in it as well, so you can track that traffic. But the next 3 are critical. You have what's called a products and services link, you have an appointments link, and you have a place an order. Even if you don't think anybody is ever going to click that, I strongly suggest that and recommend that you test out placing different links in there, because Google has come out and said that and admitted this, that they give preferential treatment, essentially from a ranking standpoint, to the links that are placed in the Google Business Profile. So, and we've seen how it helps over time. But again, just make it, put something in there that is most relevant. We like to put the specials pages in the products and services. We like to put, obviously, the service appointment in the appointments page, and place an order. We've experimented on the place an order because unfortunately you can't change the label on Google's system just yet. Yeah, I believe it's something that we may see down the road. But from a place and order standpoint, I like to experiment with either order the parts link or even a custom order page now, as more and more dealers are experimenting with some type of pre-order form, whether it's a tool that's framed into a page or if it's just a simple lead capture form. But either way, those are great ways to try to create a better experience for that shopper. Because the thing with a local search, somebody may find you from either car dealership near me, or it might just be even your brand name. But the problem with that, we don't know the intent behind that. And the goal with the Google Business Profile is to capture any and all intent by creating a better experience with those available links and the content. Next is the photos. And this is solely on you as the dealer. You should have, I strongly recommend having a process in place where you're consistently putting in new photos. Google loves new photos. It drives more engagement, and they can also help show up in additional search results within the images searches. So that's a great way. Encourage your customers to do it, and even internal staff. And I would also recommend stay away from just posting the classic empty barren photo of your showroom. If you are going to show that, do it at peak time when you've got a lot of people in there. Don't make it look like a ghost town. And then last, and this is so critical, is your reviews. Everybody knows the importance of reviews and how it helps influence. But part of this play on this tactic is being able to play Google's game to the best of your ability. So Google has said specifically they want to see reviews coming in on a consistent basis. They want to see new reviews, just like new photos. So if you take a look at your reviews, and I've seen it unfortunately with some dealers, their last review may have been 5 months ago. Hopefully when you look at it, you see your last review was from even today. Having a consistent process or campaign in place that drives these is a simple way to solve it. Next is obviously the quality of the reviews, direct result of the experiences that you create. Obviously you guys can control that. Next is the keywords in the actual reviews themselves. The reason why Google puts so much strength on this, because this is a truly organic activity. It's very hard. You may coach a customer to include the keywords such as, hey, can you say the name of our dealership, or the city and state that we're in, or even better, on top of that, the year, make, and model, and even the trim level of the car. All that is gold in the eyes of Google, because that is giving so much more additional specific mention and relevance to a specific topic in terms of being your products. And then last is your responses to reviews. And not only the responses to your reviews, and I know you may have heard it before, but you have to answer all of them, even the bad ones. And how you answer them is critical, because you can actually control this by including additional phrases and additional keywords. And we'll start on the right in this actually. In here, instead of just simply saying, thanks for leaving us a review, or hope you enjoy your new car, instead just simply add the dealer name. Here in this one you can see they added, thank you for left your review at Peter Pan BMW in San Mateo, and then hope you enjoy your 2022 BMW X2. Those are great ways, simple ways. So whoever is managing it, even if you have an external vendor, give them the instructions on how how you would like your brand represented inside your responses. This is such a easy win for you to be able to help enhance it. Here's another example too on the left of what I was mentioning before. There's your website button. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. There's your primary category, some additional business attributes that go in there. And then there's your additional CTAs that I mentioned, your order, products and services, and appointments. And again, just as a reminder, unfortunately, we can't change the link label, and you cannot change the URL that is displayed. Unfortunately, it's still going to look like the home page. But again, these are things that I believe, in my opinion, will eventually change down the road as Google continues to roll out new additional features to the Google Business Profiles. Next, I want to touch on the evolution of keyword research. This is such an important piece to wrap your head around, in terms of, everybody understands, we need to rank for keywords. Well, now it's not necessarily about just an individual keyword phrase, because of a couple simple changes that have happened over the years. Google's machine essentially has evolved to the point where it understands different context. It understands different versions, different semantic ways of saying the same thing. And so instead of just focusing in on a keyword to rank for, now it's all about ranking for a topic cluster. And again, the old way, I like to say the old dinosaur way in the 2000s was, just keyword stuffing. You could put as many words as you want all around the topic, and that would help you rank. Well, again, Google got smarter, and they realized that's not how it was. The emphasis also and the focus used to be just on search volume. Well, if it's searched a lot, I'll just stuff it in the page more often, and I'll be able to rank for it. And on top of that, you didn't really need to have that helpful content. Google has a phrase that they like to say. It's called EAT, E-A-T, expert, authoritative, and trustworthy content. That's what the content needs to be. So today's focus, again, it's focusing on that quality content. As I said, expert, authoritative, and trustworthy. And then it's more about topical keyword research. What are the other related phrases? What's another way of saying it? The example I like to use all the time is, instead of saying used cars in San Diego, you could also say that as pre-owned vehicles in San Diego, pre-owned vehicles. Forward and backwards, swap it out, doesn't really matter. Even though we're using different terms, Google understands that pre-owned and used cars are the same exact thing. And then last is so crucial. It's just the concept and the import of the heightened awareness and importance of matching intent. So back to the original question that we got from the audience before, a transactional type of content to match that query. Again, if somebody is searching for how much is it worth, or current Honda Accord lease deals or lease specials, anything like that. If somebody types that in, it's a little bit easier, rather a lot easier, with a very, very specific phrase like that, to be able to understand that person is probably further down the buying funnel, and they have a specific question in their head, and that is they need to know the price for a Honda Accord lease. And so be able to create content that matches that intent, that's what it's all about today. So the term that I mentioned before, topic clusters, that's the term that marketers use to be able to understand that you have the topic. Again, say in this case, Honda Accord is your pillar content. And then you can have your clustered content all around, and then there's your backlinks that point back, that create those signals that we mentioned in the beginning about being able to link relevant content to the main hub of that. And again, you can have all different things. And again, it could be how to sync my Bluetooth, how to change the battery in my key fob. We've seen content like that. How to check the oil, how to check the tread depth. Again, there's a certain way and a method to that madness. But again, as you start to create that cluster content, the importance is just being able to link that back together. And that's a simple topic cluster. Now you notice each one of those is their own specific topic, and they have their respective keywords as well. And that's how you wind up creating additional awareness and search visibility and increasing the rankings. And then number 7, one of the most common questions I get is, well, how do I measure the success? How do we know it's working? How do I know my vendor is actually doing the right work? And so simply, what should I measure? And so I've come up with, the list is whittled down over the years. I like to focus in on these 4, while there are several other quality measures as well. I like to stick to these 4. And right off the bat, number 1, is there more organic and local traffic? And again, if you are optimizing for your local markets, if you are taking care of your Google business profile, and you're tracking those with the tags, it's going to be very easy to see. All right, I will add one simple disclaimer to this. In the case that I showed you prior, where there was traffic coming from London, it's very easy when we do the audit, we find that stuff. And then we try to be as proactive as possible to let the dealer know that was obviously happening. And what we are going to do is work to target the local market through the on-page optimization tactics. So what we may see in the short term is a drop in traffic. But again, in this case, the dealer, if they know that they are not going to get traffic from London anymore, they're not going to be too upset about that, and they weren't, because of the focus is obviously trying to get traffic from their backyard, not from across the pond. The next is, do you rank for more relevant keywords? Again, we just covered on that topic, so it's so important, obviously, to make sure that the only way you're going to get more organic traffic is obviously to rank for more relevant keywords. So that you want to be able to track that. Now, where do those keywords go? They're going to go in that nice new rich content that goes in the pages. So obviously it makes sense to track how many new pages, and obviously, again, how do they rank? So I like to track those three. And then lastly, is there an increase in organic conversions? So obviously, better exposure, more visibility, better local traffic, right tagging, you got the right analytics set up. Everything goes hand in hand to ultimately be able to answer these questions, especially with regards to the organic conversions. And once you start to be able to put all those together in a nice linear path, now you have the ability to really track that. And even if you aren't aware of how the individual tactics that SEOs use to be able to improve the site health and the site experience and the site traffic, there are there are simple ways to do it like this to be able to answer these questions, or ask these questions of the vendor, to create the oversight and accountability that's needed to be a successful operator. Another good question here. Let me see this real quick. What tools can we use for relevant keyword search? Great question. There's so many different ways out there. I'll give you the first one. The tool that we use to manage our clients, very transparent about it. We use what's called SEMrush or SEMrush, depending on how you want to call it. It is a paid program. It does have a free portion. Doesn't give you a lot of data on the free, but it's a great way to see. SEMrush.com. You can also use the Google AdWord Planner. Just because it's used by paid search doesn't mean it won't be helpful. It's still going to give you the data behind the searches. Another real simple way, you can even just go to Google and you can just start typing in phrases, and you can see what Google will autocomplete. Now, a lot of that does in fact come from what they're trying to predict based off of your personalized search history, but it will be a very telling exercise. And plus, you can also scroll down after you do the search, and you can just simply see what the other related searches are, or people also ask. The people also ask section is an extremely valuable and untapped resource that's, again, just baked right into into that. And again, if you're looking for more than those, there's plenty to do in those three. You can also just do a simple search for keyword keyword research tools, and you'll see there are so many of them out there, and most of them are tapping into the same databases. So it just depends on the size of the platform. Again, I like SEMrush just because the usability, and they tap into the largest database for keywords. Great question, Alicia. Thank you. And then finally, your 7.5, your bonus number here. So everybody will also often ask, how much traffic should I actually be getting from each channel? And which I like to call just your default traffic percentages. So everybody knows you have your organic, you have your paid, your display, email, social, whatnot. There is another category in there that's called other. And you can see this right in your Google Analytics. And oftentimes when people do find this, they're like, okay, well, I see my percentages. What should I have? Now, these aren't set in stone. These are just guideposts, and these are ranges. And these could be plus or minus 5 in either direction if you wanted to go that far. But if you look at your breakdown, this is a good, healthy breakdown from from a lot of dealers that I've worked with. These are the target ranges that I like to try to achieve. And again, I've seen the organic percentage as high as 70% for some dealers. But again, that's based on brand, competition, and their their own individual performance of the campaigns that are running. And the only reason that dealer went to 70% is because they turned off their paid search. They had been doing SEO for so long, it afforded them the opportunity to make those decisions to do that. Again, you have 44% is a good target. I like to say 30% or higher. That's a good one. That's a good place to start. I'd like to be somewhere in the mid 40s. Next is your paid search. Again, you have to keep in mind this is going to be largely dependent upon your competition, local demand, and obviously how those campaigns perform for you. Then everybody's going to have their direct. That's oftentimes a function of age and location, and just age of the brand and strength of the brand as well. Reputation is a big thing. Everybody's going to have referral traffic. You may have some display in there. If you don't, not a problem. But again, always keep in mind each one of these channels is going to function a lot different. Some people will look at their direct traffic and look at the conversions and try to compare that and make that the standard. You can't gauge that. You have to compare apples to apples. So comparing your social traffic, and believe me, I have seen social traffic as high as 25, 35%. And there are, oftentimes there might not be many conversions for that. Now, if there's a need for that and it plays into what the brand's marketing efforts are needed at the time. Again, each one of those are their own unique situation. But the point being, you want to have a good, healthy balance. The analogy I like to use on this is like going to your financial planner and looking at where you put your money. A lot of times dealers might, unfortunately, they might just focus in a little bit too much just on that paid search bucket. And if you then go even further down the rabbit hole and you start to compare, what are my conversions between each channel? In this case, this dealer that I was using for this split, obviously their organic channel was driving a significantly large amount of their monthly conversions, versus the paid search. They were getting out of it what they were expecting, per the budget and per the campaign styles. But there are some dealers where I have actually seen where these numbers are flipped or near to that, and they're spending a lot of money on keywords just to refresh and restart that clock back to zero on day one of the next month. My philosophy is I'd rather flip this and I'd rather own these terms, versus renting or leasing those terms on a monthly basis. That is it for everybody. I appreciate the time. If you do have any other questions, please feel free to add them into the chat. I do want to offer everybody, if you want to reach out, either to me directly or even to Rachel, you can request a complimentary SEO review, and we'll give you a good high-level overview of some of the initial items that we've discovered, and that can include both on the local SEO front and just within your website. So again, I hope that was helpful for you. Hope you found some value with that, and I hope you walked away with at least one new item, if not more. And again, appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. And Rachel, I appreciate your help with today's webinar as well. Thank you.
Eric, no problem. Thank you for joining us today. I know you're a very busy guy down there at Digital Dealer. You shared some really valuable information, and again, we appreciate it. Everyone that is on the line, you'll be receiving a copy of this webinar by the end of this week. If you have any questions, like Eric said, you can pass them along to me or to Eric. To those on the line, join us back here on Tuesday, May 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern as Podium talks to effective communication details. So be on the lookout for promotions on how to register. For more information about AIADA, visit AIADA.org. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day, everyone.